What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Wrestle Wellbeing. I'm your host, Jim, and we've got the next episode of the Unseen Battles today with a very special guest. But before I introduce my guest, I'm going to go back to the usual. If you've seen the episodes before, you know what I'm talking about. It is, of course, the Hot Tag Foundation, which is a non-profit organisation based here in the UK that aims to share wrestling with children across Britain, particularly those in need. The core activities that they do include collecting donations of wrestling items such as toys, merchandise, and other wrestling-related goods. So, in essence, the Hot Tag Foundation leverages the appeal of professional wrestling to bring joy and a sense of real-life superheroes to children, especially those facing challenging circumstances, by providing them with personalized wrestling gifts and fostering a community-oriented approach to kindness and well-being. I'm going to play a quick clip just now, and then I'm going to introduce my special guest. So hope you enjoy this quick video, guys.
Ready for
So there you go, guys. That is the Hot Tag Foundation. Make sure you go check those guys out, along with all of the other UK indie scene promotions. Make sure that once you've watched this video and watched this episode, that you go back and check out those QR codes. But for now, we're going to jump straight into this episode. I want to welcome the excellence of elocution, the harbinger of the headbutt, the savage gent. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. PL Dotson. Dotson, thank you for joining me, mate.
Wow, what an introduction, Jim. Befitting of your better. Thank you so much for having me on, though, mate. I do really, really appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure of mine, mate. Thank you so much for making the time out today from your busy schedule to come on. So I've been trying to get Dotson on for quite a while now. It's an absolute pleasure to have him on the channel now. So obviously, if you want to give us a quick background, obviously, as to just who you are, mate, so that people that don't know who you are can get to grips with just who you are personally, mate.
Fantastic. So I am a British wrestling aficionado, absolute lover of all things old school British wrestling, mixed with kind of current, the flamboyance of wrestling as it currently stands. I love the kind of the villainous persona in which I put across. It is both mostly me and nothing of me as well at the same time, massively influenced by lots and lots of other things. I'm yeah, I mostly wrestle at the moment in excuse me, in the Northwest for companies like Infinite Promotions, for TNT. I've wrestled up in places like Accrington and Preston, wrestling over in Chesterfield quite soon, and over in Southport over the summer season, going into the end of the back end of the year. But yeah, just a absolute rogue, really, of the British wrestling scene. But no, came to it quite late. Quite late in my kind of sporting journey. But yeah, found all places where villainy takes place.
Fantastic, matey. So I was actually quite surprised when I put up the post about you, to be honest, mate, that you were coming on the show, because I had quite a lot of people asking quite a few questions and posting questions on my Instagram when I posted about you. You're obviously quite a very, very well loved heel, which is quite unusual to see.
So I would love perchance to find out who some of those questionnaires are. I've got a decent idea who some of them may be, because they are people who ask me numerous questions at shows, and also people who are really kind of in on it as well, of what I'm trying to do and trying to portray. Probably coupled with a couple of people who just absolutely hate my guts, which is great because you've got to have that. Without, if you don't have that, you can't have these larger than life hero characters. There's always got to be someone you dislike. So fantastic. Yeah, it's good. It's nice to be liked or disliked.
Well, it's like the same, mate. If you're not absolutely despised as a heel, you're not doing your job right, mate. So you must be obviously doing your job right.
Fantastic.
Right, matey. So if it's all good with you, bud, we'll jump straight into the questions, if that's all right with you, mate.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, guys, we'll be back in 2 seconds. So I've already kind of messed up here. So I'm going to quickly explain to people the rundown of the show. So we're going to jump into Dotson's introduction into wrestling, his journey through wrestling, and then we're going to be diving a bit deeper into his battles with mental health. What I am going to say is I've already got a couple of comments already. I want to say a massive thank you to Leroy Brown for your questions, mate. I'm not going to be asking one of them because it is based on religion. I would like to step away from religion, just with this being a mental health podcast. So I do apologise for that one, Leroy. But the first question I want to ask you, Dotson, mate, is what initially drew you to the world of professional wrestling? Is it something that you watched since childhood? Is it something that you became known of later on in life?
Yeah, so there's probably both of those quite apparent to me in that. So like, I'm a bit old in that I turned 42 this year. So I've watched quite a lot of wrestling, and I'm old enough to remember the world of sport being on TV. And remember, one of my earliest memories of, if we think about wrestling, is that being on in my grand's house and kind of watching it and not really knowing any of the guys, but being able to kind of picking out some of the bits that's going on in there. In that, yeah, you've got like with everything, like any good TV or any good film, you've got your heroes, you've got your villains, you've got your story that goes behind it, and it's how you tell the story. And obviously, in that British fashion, being that age, that's still being on, or still remembering that. And then having it kind of juxtaposed against the stuff that's on Sky and on, you could get WCW as well on TV, and those kind of German channels as well that you got when you started watching Sky as well. I just loved it. I loved like the pageantry of it, the drama of it. It's theatre, it's intrigue. It's obviously all these people's ability to be somebody else. And that's one of the big draws for me, is that all of those other things that inherently, I think I'm a bit of a show pony. I do enjoy, as I say, the villainy side of it, but as well celebrating the kind of the stories that come from it. From as a performer, then I did a 12-week like a white collar championship challenge for a charity of my choice, which was bladder and bowel cancer. I did that through PCW. So that was where I first initially trained under Sheikh El Sham. And yeah, guided through my first match by CJ Banks and Danny Hope, who I've had the privilege to kind of wrestle and be on the same shows as well as I've got further into this. But yeah, the original part of it was I got into it because I lost my mum. My mum passed of bowel cancer in 2018. So it was a real kind of doing it in a memory. I mean, mum honestly would have been the kind who she'd come and watch me race spaghetti down a window. She was so like into everything that I did as a kid through like athletics and rugby and things. So even when she was really ill, those things like rugby and American football and things that I did before wrestling. So I thought it would be an amazing thing because she knew how much I loved it as well. So it was kind of a nice full circle moment.
That's awesome to hear, mate. Really sorry to hear about your mum, bud. And I hope that you yourself are okay.
Yeah, all good. I mean, I'll say it's that bit of legacy and a bit of memory every time I do it. In that, I do feel like my mum would just be like, she'd both love it and hate it at the same time. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a real kind of look to. And the reason I'm Dotson is that my mum's name was Dot, so it's a nice it's a nod to her every time I do it.
That's awesome, mate. So can you describe your earliest training experiences for us? What were some of the biggest surprises or challenges that you encountered in your formative years?
So yeah, back here, so it was 2018. The beginning of 2019, the end of 2018 when I signed up for the white collar, and then the 2019 was when I started doing the training. Training alongside two of my mates, a guy called Tim Lloyd, who was my best man at my wedding as well. I've known from university, and he'd already done this white collar experience for another thing and kind of gave me the real push to do that. And then another guy called Gary Ward. Gary was and is still a really good friend of mine as well. And he's just one of them guys who does everything, who just wants a challenge and does a little bit of everything. Been up like Kilimanjaro and all that kind of stuff. So he loved the idea of it. And like me, had already loved wrestling. So those were like kind of road trips up to Preston on a Tuesday and a Thursday night, training in the ring. Like that first time you're getting in a ring and it's like that, is it? This is how it feels. First time you take a bump, first time you run the ropes, sometimes training without a ring as well, because obviously PCW run a lot of shows and we're running a lot of shows at the time. Working with like Sheikh and other trainers and other trainees on my character and presence when you're doing the bits on the run up to kind of a match. What kind of the things I remember from it is just kind of making sure, working hard to kind of stay in shape for the thing that you're doing. It's how all encompassing it can be as well. As one of my first memories of it is whether you're good or bad at it, like right at the beginning, it consumes you, and that you want to get better. Or if you're already decent at like the athletic side of it and taking a roll and taking a bump and working with somebody as well, you want to kind of stay on top. So there's that little bit of a challenge to yourself as well.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. So I'm going to throw out the Instagram questions, if that's all right with you, bud.
Of course.
So the first question that I've got is from a regular question asker from a good friend of ours, Steve Grimshaw, who's been on the channel.
Wonderful gentleman.
He's quite an avid watcher and contributor to the questions. I believe it was the interview with the vegan athlete Holloway that I had. It basically turned into the Steve Grimshaw show. But shout out to Steve, love you, man. Honestly, massive respect to you, bro. So Steve asks, how does your family react to your heelish persona?
So my wife, who has supported me through everything that I've ever done, everything that I've wanted to do, gives me a little bit of a steer now and again on the like, is that bit close to the line or what have you? She's not bothered about the character. It's more the gear that I wear sometimes, where she's like, does it have to be like a singlet? My daughter, who's 9, absolutely loves it. Like, I think at first was kind of taken aback by, because it's all about like kind of the faces and the things that I do with it as well, not just the moves, but the character that I put into it. Some of the face, oh no, don't do that face, Dad. Whereas now she's really into it and asks me about it a load. talks quite like when we start talking about wrestling, will always throw back to like when I wrestled Harley Hudson, and that Harley's was a favorite, and who can a new favorite be, Dad? And when you're going to wrestle another one of the girls, like she loves the thing of, because she can see it now. She's seen me wrestle Harley, which was amazing, and then some of the other girls as well. When she's been to a couple of the shows, I think it's really important for her to be able to see it and it not just be a daft dad messing around in spandex, like. So yeah, they're all right with it, Steve. They are all right with it because they know under it all, I'm absolutely abhorrent anyway. No, they're right good with it. They're all good with it, like.
Brilliant, mate. Next question from Steve is: how important is match psychology to you in a scene dominated with high spots?
Massive, Steve, and I think Steve and I share quite a lot of similarities on our thought on things making sense. And I'm a big believer in like you work for the card first and not just for yourself. And wherever you work, like where your position on that card is, it might not be forever, but you've been put there particularly for a reason. So a couple of shows that I've worked, I do really enjoy going out first because of the villain persona, the savage gent persona that I put across. It gives people that opportunity to kind of do the, all right, well, I've got a boo for him because he's like that. And then obviously whoever you're on with, that's a night straight away, they're up. They're the blue eye already. They're seen as the face, the hero of the match, and anything I can do to make that person look as good as I can in regards to whether it be facial stuff, whether it be regard to remonstrating with a crowd, the moves we do, the sequences we put together, the overall kind of story that we try to put together. Yeah, it's really, really important to me because like the moves are forgettable at times in that you remember the character rather than maybe some of the moves that they did, unless it's just like an amazing Spanish, watching Keith Lee do a Spanish fly in Birmingham one time. Like, what was that all about? So I'll remember that forever. But yeah, I think there's still a massive place for the character and the theatrics and the story that goes with everything, rather than it just being spot, Canadian Destroyer. I'll do a move that I've just seen on TV. Why are you doing that? Put it in with things, make it make sense, and kind of listen to the people around you and think about what you do further down the card or further up the card. How is it contributing to what's going on, and it not being just going to business for yourself because you want your match to look the best.
Definitely, mate. Completely understand where you're coming from there, matey. So, last question from Steve before we go into the other questions. Your character lends itself to also being a manager. Would you consider that when you retire?
I'm never going to retire. No, I think my willingness, and this is through working with people like John Kane and Kieran McConnell and John Kenny right at the beginning, after I'd finished training at PCW. As I mentioned, Sheikh Al-Sham was really, really big into the character and the thing that I brought with it. And just all my kind of contemporaries along the way, as well as saying, like, make it mean something to who you're working with, like listen to the crowd as well. Don't just go on what you've planned, listen as well. So I'm a big believer in that, is like listening to what's going on and react to it and give people things to react to as well. So yeah, I do think like I'm doing this. I've got this role within Infinite Promotions at the moment as the general manager, as a story device to further an ongoing bit of drama and story that we've got going on there, and that's fantastic. So yeah, I do. I think there's that, like, it's quite easy to hate your boss bit going on, which I'm trying to get through as well with the GM thing. But yeah, I would. There's probably bits where I could do, in the very near future, where you're an active manager as well. You look at like MVP now on AEW. There's absolutely no time. You could think that there's no time at all. They could put the I don't even know. It wasn't really a singlet, was it? You could put the one piece back on, and he could still be doing a bit.
Yeah, it was more like a one piece. So you mentioned obviously that your daughter's getting quite interesting. Do you think that we could possibly see in the next 10 years the first ever father-daughter tag team?
That would honestly, like, and she's great at everything that she does. She's so into a drama anyway. So we've got her at a little drama school quite close by. I say little drama school. It's nationwide. It's the Pauline Quirk Academy. So she does really well there. She's really into a sport as well. So she's bang into a netball. But yeah, there'll be times you put a little bit of something on her and she knows how to come out of it, and she'll take a risk and things like that. So yeah, maybe. I never say never. I wouldn't be one of the people who'd say, "Oh no, don't do it," because it's given me so much as well in the quite short amount of time that I've been doing it as I've got later on in my life. But yeah, I'd love it. I would love to see her doing it, even if we just did our match. It'd be great.
Awesome, mate. So that's the questions from Steve. Really appreciate that, Steve. On to the vegan athlete Holloway, who asks, what advice would you give to the guys starting out in wrestling?
Take your time. Take your time. So it's something I think about quite often when I listen to trainees and people who are kind of like I train alongside over at Claw, like a great space as well that Jay Apps has got going over there at Claw at the moment, and the whole host of coaches through from like Dean Allmark, like British wrestling royalty, through to like Sam Gradwell, absolutely like amazing athlete, former WWE, NXT, really gets the kind of the character and the persona, and Lucy Sky as well, who's I honestly I don't think there's many better women on the British scene as well, and like absolute encyclopedia of knowledge and understanding of how she can help people get along. And Sonna as well, Sonna Durson, who does a Thursday night, who again I think has got just like this real drive for people to be fit and ready for what they're doing, and his own ring psychology as well I think is immense. Like you've got all those things going on, and then you've got people like myself and Lewis Johnson and people like that training there as well, and obviously Holloway trains there now and again. It's that like listen to people around you. Don't get caught up in the I need to do these moves and I want to do this and I want to be this character straight away. Is just like take your time with it, and it's really hard for people to tell people that they almost have to be people who've not took the time for them to go, oh yeah, I really should have took my time with that, and like understanding that it's okay not to be ready yet, and listen to the people around you. As I mentioned earlier, there's some great guys there at the moment, guys like Decker, Saxa, Callum Crowe, Lucian. They're just a few of the guys who I know a little bit with. Like, don't rush into everything. Like, don't get such a rush on. Don't rush into your debut. Don't rush into deciding who your character is. Like, enjoy the training bit. The training bit is sometimes the best bit of it. Training's sometimes 2 hours, 2.5 hours, where a match, I mean, some of my matches, 15 minutes might be the most, 20 minutes I might do. Like, you can see where you should be trying to get your joy from is the training side, because there's so much of it. But yeah, watch wrestling as well to people as well, like where it's comfortable, where it's not kind of cutting into the rest of your normal life, and you can still get some joy from watching it as a fan. But watch it as a fan, but also watch it as a student, and pick out the things that you like and things that you can try. Do the things that you're capable of doing at this time, that not ever. Do the things that you will challenge you as well. Train for not just doing the wrestling, but train for wrestling. Get in a mirror and practice your facials and practice your promo stuff. Look at other things outside of wrestling, like talk about kind of the character that I'm putting across at some point, I'm sure today. Like, that's barely a wrestler that I'm doing. There's so much more that's come from TV and theatre and movies and things like that. Like, there's so much where you can get things from and still appeal to a massive audience.
So just want to say a massive thank you to both Steve and Holloway for posting those questions, guys. Got a question on YouTube from Leroy Brown here, mate. It says, who is your character based on?
Fantastic question. Thank you, Leroy. My character is massively influenced by Steve Regal, like WCW Steve Regal. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I love still watching it back. A lot of like the facial stuff and the stuff whilst in holds or while I'm doing things, the way I'm trying to move and move myself around is very, very influenced by Steve Regal. But then even some more like contemporary people like Spike Trevay, Ric Flair, MJF. As I said just then, like the big things, I look at how I carry myself. So I'm doing this whole like, "I'm your better" thing, which has got a real link to like Homelander from The Boys, and like saying that no matter what, I can't be challenged because I am your better in every other way. Most of the time, I'm not, and that's another character device to why it's great to be a villain and say this thing whilst quite happily falling on your ass and making somebody else look really, really great. From Marvel, like I'm a big Marvel fan, so like Avengers, like Infinity War, and like so Ebony Moore in there, and have kind of good patrons or good followers of Thanos, all that kind of stuff. I'm a big believer in that, and like almost that regality of it, and you're separating yourself from people, how you speak and how you portray the character. Matilda's a massive thing as well, like the film, like the Trunchbull in Matilda. So there's like again how you speak down to people and making yourself this absolutely vile character, and like theatre, like I'm a big theatre fan as well. So Les Mis is one of my favourites, and like the character, like the main antagonist in there, Javert, is a big one as well. It's like again, it's all these big people with great big coats that I really like. But yeah, these like again, somebody else who's separating himself from other people, can't be challenged, better than you, whatever he's saying is right, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a proper mishmash of everything. Just all great villains, really. There's so many. God, you watch like Disney stuff, can't you? Now, when you look at how they're writing like Disney like characters like Jafar in Aladdin and stuff like that, and you think, oh, that's such a good character. Like if you can put that across, there's bits like that with people. If people making links, if people can link things and go, do you know what? Yeah, I like that because it reminds me of this. Then you've done your job.
Fantastic, but so once again, thank you, Leroy, for that question, mate. So what I would actually say, Dotson, is that when I first put up the promo video for this episode, is obviously when I saw you wearing the big red coat, the first thing that came to my mind is it looks like Gunther. So like I would say that you're sort of like a mix of Gunther, MJF, and Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Fantastic. Yeah, the Gaston thing's a class one. Like again, really good villain, isn't he? Proper good villain. Like very easily disliked, but you can also see there's it sees himself. I think all good villains see themselves as the hero of their own story. Like they're the person who's right. I absolutely like. I remember meeting. I spoke very, very briefly to Walter, as he was then, Gunther now, at a show in Manchester at Bowlers, and just again, like his sheer imposing size was just like phenomenal. And yeah, kind of the ring work that he put in at the same time. Like you look at him now compared to how he was, kind of. With his physique and how he carried himself at the same time. Back when I first saw him on things like Defiant Wrestling back in Manchester, it's night and day. He's clearly kind of looking after himself and thinking about how he was going to elongate his wrestling career by being in a really particular shape at the moment. The MJF stuff like is great, and I love that because he's just this really, really detestable person, but and lives a gimmick like far. Like, could I sit and be in character whilst we're doing this? Probably not. But MJF's so into that character. It's where does that character and where does the real Maxwell where does he begin? Probably there's a massive kind of a real overlay in those two things. But no, thank you for that. I love that entrance video as well. It's my friend Lewis Johnson, who's a fellow performer on Infinite and loads of other places as well. Great wrestler, good mind as well for it all. That's his kind of his side thing. He does a lot of graphics and entrance videos and things. And I just gave him a couple of things of what I wanted, and he come up with this like emerging from this smoke. And I thought, oh God, it's so good. It's exactly what I'm after.
It definitely screams sort of like I know this term gets thrown around a lot, but it definitely screams like a final boss when it comes to like an opponent sort of thing. So it does kind of give you like an Undertaker, like a Gunther sort of like vibe where that sort of thing comes on the Titantron and you think, oh shit, this guy's gonna beat the hell out of me, sort of thing. So it kind of like really leans into the character that you're trying
Yeah.
to portray.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a heck of a lot of times where I am bested, but that is not without me kind of going out and I don't know, making a statement for myself as well. And I do think it begins with the strings of the music that I use, that portrayal on the video, any video wall, or it goes out on socials and things like that. It's a big thing, isn't it? It's a big part of everything that you're doing is how you portray yourself. But yeah, I'm waiting for my final boss moment. Still waiting for that.
Fantastic, bud. So we'll just jump back into the standard questions that I've written up, mate. So obviously your moniker of being the Savage Gent is quite distinctive. How did that persona come about, and how has it evolved throughout your career, and what aspects of your real self, if any, are woven into that character?
So it's one of, as you mentioned a couple of them before, one of my many monikers. Like I love as I said before, film stuff, and like I think it's Rocky. Is it Rocky 3 where it's Ivan Drago?
Yes.
And it's Apollo Creed, right? So I was absolutely, and I used to be a PE teacher as well. So that's part of the thing. I used to do the media side in PE as well at A level, and we used that as a real kind of the scene when Apollo Creed's coming down to face Ivan Drago, and the guy who's introducing him speaks for near 5 minutes, calling him the King of Sting. There's loads, isn't there? There's loads. I can't remember any of the other ones. The Count of Monte Fisto is another one. I thought, oh God, that's so good. Like loads of things. So you know what you're getting. All these things that you're saying are all these kind of subtle shades of who you're going to get with Apollo Creed. So I just thought like it's a real good thing to get loads, like this kind of nickname collector of things that I like and things that just kind of make me laugh as well. Like I'm a big lover of a pun. But like to go all the way back, like the Savage Gent thing, I feel is just this like perfect juxtaposition of a man or of a human, in that you can be one way and you can be this other way at the same time. I was the patriarch at first, which when I watched AEW very recently, I was like, oh, Christian Cage just watched one of my bits there. He's come up with like the patriarchy, obviously much more successful than I ever will be. But I love that. And that kind of came from just like being like everybody's dad, in that like looking after people, making sure people have got things and what have you. So I was announced on my first show as the patriarch PL Dotson, and I didn't really know what that was, and it didn't really have enough meat on the bone. So after a couple of matches with the company who are now Infinite Promotions, I was asked would I be interested in being a villain, turning heel. And I said, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really, really keen at first. So that first character was like really kind of a British strong style, Trent Seven influenced. I didn't have the tash, and I don't grow a tash. So it was all kind of more about the beard and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this one, as I mentioned earlier, is all those other things, all those other subtle shades. And I just kind of thought, I'll just give it a go and just see what happens. A second ever match before was the Savage Gent. I came out to like Daddy Cool, Boney M, which is like, I thought, you know, it's an absolute banger of a song, but like, what is that? Like, how can I get people to either get behind it or get against it? So changed, and I was using a couple of different types of bits of music, and Muse was one of them. I was using at the time. And then dropped on this song, this the end cry, I think it's called I Can Do Anything, and it's used in The Boys, and it's just absolutely encapsulated. It really, really fits kind of what I'm trying to put across. This, like, as I say, Savage Gent, this harbinger of the headbutt. Like I love throwing headbutts to the point where it's like I try and do it as DDP. I also used to really like, and I was speaking to a trainee last night saying, you want a move which you can do from anywhere and out on anyone, So like the headbutt stuff, I use like a pop-up headbutt, which is really good. So and loads of different ways in and out of a headbutt I really like. Loquacious Leviathan, just I love that word Leviathan. It's like conjures up these things of like being a monster or a god, like this kaiju element. Loquacious, just because I'll use 10 words when you can probably use 5. Just another device to be like, I'm better than you because I can speak in this certain way. Excellence of elocution. Well, I liked Bret Hart when I was younger. Probably just sneaked off my Mount Rushmore of wrestling, but I like the idea of he was the excellence of execution. Well, elocution being that lean to my PE teaching and teaching days anyway. Man of 1,000 scolds, because I thought, oh, do you know what? I love that. Like, that's another lean into like Dean Malenko used to be the man of 1,000 holds. Like, loads of different ways to kind of tell people off. As I say, this like your better thing that I'm doing more now is just this really, really divisive, particularly in some of the places that I work where a wrestle is this real separation. And you can do all that. You get announced by all those names. And then you get in the ring and you announce yourself against, oh God, will you just get on with it? It's another way of, another device of elongating what you're doing and also getting that bit of heat on yourself. And then calling yourself that you're better, the better version of all of those, the people who were there, is just, again, like giving people loads and loads of needle all the time. But yeah, it's just what I'm trying to get in is that you can be different. You can be different. You can be this person, this character, this persona. Why be like everybody else when you can be this like different and the best version of what you're doing?
Fantastic, bud. So, looking back at your career so far as a wrestler, what are 1 or 2 matches or moments that stand out as particularly significant and why?
So I wrote a few actually in that. Significant matches obviously were my first, and that was a tag match against CJ Banks and Danny Hope. Really kind of, I've looked back on that now and I think, God, that was awful. Not because Danny and CJ weren't amazing and just knew what they were working with straight away and got us to do some of the things that they thought, oh, they'll be fine doing these. And you know what? You could watch it and go, oh yeah, I get that. I'm still doing some of the bits now, but hopefully to a better standard. My second ever match was against Isaac North for what was the, I think it was the prestige title of a now defunct wrestling company. North just smacked the crap out of me, which was great as well. It's that was my first real involvement in someone who's just going to, like, safely as well. Like, he's an absolute salt of the earth, real human being. The character itself is expertly crafted and terrifying to loads of people. But yeah, just was like, right, are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Yeah, I'm fine. What do you want to do? I want to do this, isn't it? Okay. I like chopping you. And honestly, he chopped the first time he chopped me, I thought my soul had came out. And then there was one more after that. And I actually said audibly, please don't do that again. Because I was just thinking that, like, I've got to come home and show my family these red welts and go, oh, by the way, this is now what I do on a weekend. So yeah, North, God bless him, like, he's a diamond, such a good guy. Really looked after me and has been like a firm friend since then as well. We've done loads of bits together as well. First championship was again for the same company. That was in front of my family as well, which was great. And that was really nice. Held that championship when I turned heel as well. So that was quite another nice kind of plot device as well of elevating that championship to the level it demanded, rather than it just being a second thought. So that was really, really clever. As I say, turning heel was really good, and that was it was only a really small show, really, but hopefully we got the effect that we got off from it was really good, and we kind of rolled on from that. Wrestling the models, as I said earlier, like there's I mentioned Danny Hope, like wrestling Danny and Joey as the models as they were up at top rope for Sheikh Al Sham, and I tagged with Lewis there, as I mentioned Lewis earlier, under the guise of No Loose Ends, our tag team at the time. Righting the wrongs of British wrestling is what we were doing, cutting off all the loose ends bit. the models were just amazing and like real kind of typification of what tag team wrestling is and what it looks like, and how you can do so much just with crowd interaction and working just really safe and being really smart about how you make each other look. And one of the best kind of compliments I've ever got from a fellow worker was from Joey, where he said, like, you guys are really safe, like we do that every day. So that's really good for as a wrestler to hear somebody tell you how well you've looked after them. As I said, Wrestling Lewis, both one of my favourite opponents and favourite partners as well. We did the tag team bit, and we did a story I think it's about a year or two ago now, where Lewis was doing some coaching at a wrestling school, and we built this angle around me kind of berating him, saying, how can you teach anybody when you haven't won a match in nearly a year? And really kind of insulting him and trying to blur the lines as much as we could with that. And that was really good. Shout out to Holloway as well. I know he's just dropped a question across. Ash is one of the kind of the nicest blokes I've ever met through wrestling, and really keen on as I said earlier, things making sense and just wanting to do this as best he can. And like the veganism thing as a character device, and it's the fact that it's a massive part of his life as well. Really a couple of places where I've wrestled him, I've really enjoyed wrestling him. I wrestled Harley Hudson in Hooters. That's a lot of H's to say. A couple of years back now, I got the call quite late on a Thursday that Infinite Promotions had a late kind of dropout, and would I be interested in coming wrestling Harley at Hooters? Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. She deserves every success that she gets now. Like, such a good character and person, and like lovely with everything that she does as well, and just being really kind of giving. And the thing of just getting in the ring with someone like kind of late call as well, and just like being fine with it, like, as I said, deserves everything that she gets. She's really good. I wrestled Frankie Sloan in a British Rules match, again typifying this British thing that I was putting across. Like, Frankie's British wrestling royalty as well. Northwest, I think, still, and the fact that he's still going now and still contributes massive to a show, that everything that he does. I do hope when he decides to take the boots off, I do hope I might either on the same show or I'm somehow involved in that, because I think he's such a nice fella as well. All the stuff I've done for TNT has been amazing. Really good kind of experience. The angles and the stories that I've been afforded through Infinite Promotions, particularly, as really typified. I'm working alongside guys who I think really understand what I'm trying to do and how that can kind of contribute to the show. So massive love to those two guys. And dead recently, I wrestled Scotty Rourke at the Box Park in Liverpool. Like, what a guy as well. Like, again, just someone who really gets it, puts the character across. Nearly fell off a table when he was doing his entrance. Like, one of the first people to nearly break me out of character while that was going, because I thought, oh God, is he all right? But yeah, we went on really early, and set the scene, set the tone for the rest of the show. I was really privileged and pleased to have wrestled him.
That's awesome, mate. Honestly. So, of all the moments that you've just discussed, what would you say is your greatest triumph inside the ring?
I mean, as a performer, it's keep going and keeping the kind of that character relevant and keeping it as part of a contributing part of the show. And the triumph being that I'm a 42-year-old bloke, 42 this year, who wants to kind of keep contributing to it and just helping other people as well. If I was kind of saying selfishly about kind of matches stuff, the thing that I've got going on at the moment with Infinite Promotions, with the general manager, the role and the story that's along with that, I feel like that's going to be a really big and really good payoff at the end of it. Outside of the actual from a show environment, just being kind of seen as someone who people will listen to and take advice from and what have you, and being trusted in a couple of places as well to run sessions and to be part of it, leaning on, as I say, my teaching experience. And I've been shown and taught things really well, and I try and retain information really well and pass it on in the right way. So some of those have been my big triumphs, as well as kind of just being the guy, people willing to kind of call on. Did a little bit in one of Lucy Sky sessions a couple of weeks back, and it was really, really good, because it was that, like, he's not just trying to kind of get himself over and show what he knows. It was really contributory to what we was doing as a session, and the guys really, really responded to it. So yeah, that as well, I think, is, as I say, the coaching side of it and being involved in that kind of teaching and passing on the things that I know have been really triumphant as well for me.
Fantastic, mate. So we're going to get onto the next part of the interview, which is obviously where we're going to be diving into your mental health and well-being battles, struggles, and eventual triumphs. Just want to put a quick message out there, guys. If anyone is struggling with mental health, whether that be depression, anxiety, whether that is suicidal thoughts, or if it is addiction, at the end of the day, anything that you are struggling with can be considered a mental illness or affects your mental well-being. If you are struggling, make sure you check out the description down below, because I have put a few links there to some mental health organisations in and around the UK. I've also put some links to addiction help lines as well. So to start off the question, Bud, professional wrestling, as we know, is a very demanding industry, both physically and mentally. Can you openly speak about how the pressures of the business, obviously the travel, the physical toll, the performance anxiety, have impacted your mental health?
So I'd probably go from the positive side of it, in that wrestling and sport in general in my life has always been a catharsis for me. Okay. There are, like, kind of personal bits that go on, but then there's personal bits for everybody. And I think I'm a big believer in, like, not comparing your Everest, in that the challenges that you find. But yeah, the catharsis side for me, the going and being able to kind of be this other person, or do and say some of the things that I'd want to say but don't, or also carrying on saying the things that I probably shouldn't as well, have been really, really, always really, really helpful for me. It's properly impacted me in a good way, in that I love it, and I love that it makes other people feel great as well. Like, we think about ourselves as performers, like, it doesn't happen without the fans, and it doesn't happen without the kind of the promoters and people taking a chance on thinking what you can contribute to that show and contribute to how people might feel at a particular time. Well, we'll get him on because that's really, really good, and that's quite that'll speak to an issue or something like that. Particularly, just kind of straight away get called a Tory all the time, just because I'll walk around with my chin up, and how I speak to it, oh, he must be a Tory, and so obviously people will love that, having a little shot at that. But yeah, it's been great to, as I say, to make other people feel great and come out and spend their money and forget what they've got going on as well. It allows them a space to, like, vent and emote, and then you get a chance for people to just come and say thank you to you. And I met a guy last night at training. I went and trained back at PCW last night for once, and one of their trainees is someone who comes to the shows, and said to me, like, I said, oh, like, really good meeting you, what have you. He said, well, I've met you before. I've met you loads, because I come to a load of your shows. Like, I'm a big fan. I was like, a big fan. Like, it's one of them things where you think, like, do you know what? That's really, really good. Like, I feel so good that young man's following what he wants to do and get involved in the wrestling, whether it's because he wants to be a wrestler or just wants to use it, as I have in the past. The training side of it is just because it makes you feel good and makes you feel kind of separate from things.
That's awesome. It must be a real wholesome moment where you have someone that you're obviously training with, and they say, they could basically say, I got into wrestling because I watched your show. Is that something that has often happened? And how does that make you feel, bud?
As I said, just like amazing, like mega, in that it's giving people that kind of go, like, I look at it and think, someone like me, like when I was younger, who did I kind of look to and think, well, I could do that if I looked like him, or I could be like that. Like, wrestling's changed so much now, in that, like, mixture of bodies, mixture of ages, abilities, what people bring to the show. So I do really think it's something for everybody. So if there's something for everybody, then there's something that everyone can kind of hook onto. So that's probably happening in loads of other places. That's only ever really happened a couple of times. Like I said, because I think you said earlier, if people aren't hating you, then you're not doing your job as a villain. But I do still get people come and say to me like, that was really good, and what you bring to it, and the character. I love the character. I love what you're doing. And only a couple of times I've turned around and said, it's not actually a character, it's who I am real. But no, it is. It is that kind of turned up version of what I'm doing. But yeah, it makes me feel great. It's lovely for people to then go, do you know what? Like, I'll give it a go because I like him, or I like what he brings, or how he makes me feel. Maybe I could carry on doing that for somebody else.
Awesome, bud. So, was there a specific moment or period where you recognised that your mental health and your well-being was being truly tested, and what did that realization feel like?
So I would say, kind of from like a mental health side of it, I've really in times when, as I said, as a previous sportsman of playing rugby to like a decent amateur level and playing American football, and then doing this, like mostly been tested when I've been injured, in that real kind of worry of, am I going to lose my spot? Am I going to be all right? Will I be able to do what I did before? How's it going to affect my real life? Ones in wrestling that have been particularly prevalent. First one wasn't really prevalent, but I got hit with a ladder and split my nose. And I thought, oh God, that's going to, like, cause I just, from playing rugby for years, my nose was all over the place. And I had it straightened, and then thought, oh, I know what's a good idea is get involved in this wrestling lark. So I thought, well, that's not going to go down well because I've had this nose surgery and what have you. And it's how you kind of put yourself across. And I was quite happy with how I looked at the time and thought, you know what, that's not ideal. But come back from that. Dislocated my foot, taking a backdrop. So it's completely my own fault. And the guy, shout him out because he may listen to this, so I'll put him across to this. I love and refer to him as Big Ben. Ben's given me a backdrop, and I've not gone up high enough. So rather than just roll and try and land on my back, I've tried to put my feet down, and I put one of my feet down, but the other one has a point, so like on my toes, which dislocated my foot. So kind of rolling around on the floor on the mat and I kicked my own foot back in. So I got a little break on both sides of my foot because of where it came out and then where it went in. There's kind of the violence of the weight of me as well coming down on the violence of the move happening and the weight coming on top of it. Ben was absolutely like inconsolable, and it's contact sport, isn't it? We know what's going to happen when we're doing these things. I was particularly worried about that because it affected what I was doing from a school point of view. So I'm having to wear a boot for best part of 5 weeks on and off with the boot and trying to really work that, get myself right for that. And then the other side of it just being, as you mentioned earlier, about like kind of performance anxiety and being ready for it when I went back to it. And was I ready for it? And did I need to take my foot? And did I need to favor my foot? And did I need to tell anyone, please don't touch that foot or don't work that foot because of this and this? So that was pretty bad. I'm worrying about getting my spot back as well. I hurt my shoulder as well more recently going over the top rope. Absolute pleasure being in the same ring as Mike Bird. Like Mike Bird said, oh, I'll slam you over the top. I'm not doing his accent because that'll be really detrimental to him. And I think he's an amazing bloke. And he checked up on me after it and was all right, saying, are you okay? And all that kind of. But I held on too long on the top rope as he slammed me over the top. And I'm pretty sure like I tore my labrum or I might have done my rotator cuff. But that was 12 months where I couldn't do this. I could only go probably about to there. And then it was almost a grind. I thought, well, that's going to be done. I'm going to have to start kind of thinking about something else to do within this wrestling like, because if I can't use it and if somebody else can't use it with me, use that arm, then that's no good. I'm being carried rather than helping other people. But yeah, 12 months of kind of pain and trying to work through it. Again, stress on and concern on my own thing of my own well-being, how it was affecting my real life, rolling about with my daughter, playing, doing my real job as well at the time. So yeah, it was it's a funny old game, isn't it, this wrestling, like all these kind of things that you don't think how much it could affect you until it actually affects you. So yeah, mental health wise, mental well-being has always been really around performance and injury and kind of carry on doing it at the level I want to do it whilst the old father time is ticking the clock around as well. And there's other younger, not more hungry, because I'm still hungry for it, all this. I love it. But yeah, all those kind of things do play into your mind as well.
Definitely, mate. So obviously, in a world often characterized by strong larger than life personas, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, discussing mental health can be incredibly difficult. What kind of thing motivated you to start addressing your own mental health journey, and if did anything sort of help you overcome the initial hesitation?
So, just over a year ago, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I was a PE teacher for years, 18 years doing it. Absolutely loved it. Thought I was going to be a lifer doing that, whilst also kind of always accruing kind of little things that I'm putting in a backpack, if you like, putting in my bag and just trying to carry it around. And it'll be all right. I'll just address it. And knowing that it's like, it's there, knowing that I've got to address that soon at some point, but never really doing it. It was far too much of who I was rather than it just being something that I did. So as I mentioned earlier, my wife's been absolutely like massively supportive over everything that I've done. And recognized in me that there's a change, that things weren't going well, and a number of conversations within the workplace that I was at the time led to me leaving. And as I say, being diagnosed with anxiety and depression, it was difficult at first because, as I say, I never thought it would be something that it would happen to me. And whilst also fully well knowing that I was never really fully addressing things that had gone on in my life, it's almost like kind of thinking, well, that won't happen to me whilst it already happening to you. Your backpack getting heavy, your pockets getting fuller of all these things that you're supposed to be addressing. So yeah, that affected my wrestling as well. The catharsis became a chore at times rather than it being something that I loved. It was just something that I felt like I had to go and do, because if I don't, I'm not seeing anybody. And because I wasn't working at the time, I didn't feel great about myself. So my own self-worth took a bit of a tumble, trying to draw how I value myself, what I'd normally get from being this kind of pillar of a community as a teacher. And absolutely shout out to all the teachers who are still in teaching and the work that they do. It's amazing, and you guys are deserving of the time off, being that's just the start of the summer holidays. I'm insanely jealous of not being off now. That's the only thing. And the kids and working with the young people, I do really still miss that. But yeah, I've addressed it. I'm not fixed by any means. So I've took this amazing opportunity with Warrington Wolves Community Foundation, where we work with children and young families, and also work in schools, delivering the Ahead of the Game Help Out a Mate program, which we're in partnership with Movember with. And that's great because I'm doing this thing that I said I wanted to do within schools, within wrestling, within everything that I've done, is let people learn from my mistakes, or at least hear my mistakes and the things that I've done and things that have happened to me. So then they can go, I want people to make their own mistakes by all means, but to go, do you know what? I might not do that, or I might talk more about this, or I've now got some tools to talk, because I remember having that conversation with PL, with Paul being my shoot name, of it's okay to talk and it's okay to tell people about these same things, just as it's okay to tell people that you like wrestling, or you don't like the same rugby team as them, or you like pasta instead of rice, things like that. We talk about all these trivial things, but we don't talk about the things that really are really important to us, and things that, like this podcast and having this platform, and as I say, going into schools and talking to young people, it's that little bit of therapy. It's free therapy all the time. Of the more you speak to it, the more you speak to the issue, the easier it becomes to talk about it.
Awesome, mate. It's truly awesome knowing that you're obviously involved with Warrington Wolves in that sort of capacity. So can you just briefly tell the listeners how they can find out about the Warrington Wolves if someone is interested?
Fantastic. Yeah. So the Warrington Wolves Community Foundation is it's on all socials. So it's on Facebook and on Instagram. Warrington Wolves Community Foundation. They've got their own website as well, warringtonwolvescommunityfoundation.com, where you will find all the kind of the projects that we're doing, bits of write-ups, some videos, photographs. We've recently run we've been in all schools, all partner schools, working with the mostly year 8 and year 10 boys and girls. And we're now working in community clubs and with Warrington's own kind of academy set up for both boys and girls to recognise those signs of anxiety and depression through the Movember Ahead of the Game Help Out a Mate programme. So yeah, that's a massive part of the work that I'm doing at the moment across the team. I've got a wonderful team who work with me on that project, and there's so many other projects as well that we offer, from rugby league delivery through to disability sport, both for like PDRL, LDRL. We're working with a whole host of kind of partners as well on some other sports, particularly like things like parastanding tennis. We do a lot of women's only stuff, both women's only mental health and women's only touch, walking rugby, touch rugby. There's so much that we do, along with like kind of my main job of working on kind of weight management with young people under our Everybody Counts program. So yeah, it's truly this like really inspiring organization who like, and they're all real big advocates, not just rugby. So it's this real big advocate of like, oh, what do you do? So they found out I'm a wrestler. Well, what can we do that has the wrestling in it? So they're really keen to speak to kind of those things, of those issues around what people like and what's big at the time and how we can kind of work together on things. But yeah, touching so many people's lives, young and old. And I think that's in a strange way, that's just like the wrestling, in that it's all about young and old people doing something together that they love. And that's kind of my real job. That's been some of the best things, some of the highlights that I do as well.
That's awesome, mate. So I'll make sure that after the episode is finished to get those links from you, bud, if that's okay. And I'll post them in the description so that anyone that wants to find out about the Warrington Wolves Foundation, they can do. So just going back to the questions, bud, can you recall a specific instance where you felt a breakthrough in understanding or addressing your mental health, and what led to that moment?
Yeah, so as I said, like coming away from teaching, although it was my kind of as much as wrestling and rugby and my family and my friends, as much of them being my loves, like I know addressing and being present and trying to kind of speak to yourself and do those kind of things, that's really helped kind of my mental health journey. Breakthrough wise, I feel a lot about it. It definitely feels more again like a catharsis. So within that kind of last 12 months, kind of working through some of my issues, some of my problems, but also knowing that, as I say, that wrestling thing that's there to entertain myself as much as it is to anybody else. So doing the things that you love, and just like you can come away from things and I think, I really enjoyed that. How many people do something that they actually really enjoy all the time? Every time they do it, there's something that they can take from it. It's honestly, it's magic. So yeah, wrestling has been a massive part of kind of helping me up or getting me back to where I was before.
Fantastic, bud. So who would you say have been your key pillars in support of your mental health? Obviously, you mentioned your wife earlier. Is there anyone else, probably both inside and outside of the wrestling industry?
From like outside of it, as I say, my wider family, my wife particularly, my wider family have all kind of been along the journey with it, both like deep at the deep end of it and also at the shallow end, just kind of watching from the sidelines, just checking in on me. My wrestling circle, if you like, in regards to people who I speak to the most about how I feel and that kind of stuff, starts with people like Lewis Johnson, my friend, as I mentioned earlier, former wrestler as well, Tim Lloyd, who was my best man at my wedding, and the character he portrayed was Erebus. Isaac North, so Davey has kind of always been someone who's I've noticed and he's noticed little bits in each other, and just kind of checking in on things. Going a little bit further, bookers, people involved in kind of like particularly like with Infinite Promotions, so John Kane, Liam Carr, the wider kind of Infinite Promotions kind of organization have all been amazing. And yeah, just working, as I say, over at Claw with people like Jay Apter. Like, Jay's in his own way really, really supportive of a lot of people, and I think gives of himself a lot of ways, as the gentleman who I've mentioned before do. But yeah, just kind of really being part of not just the person, like, no, sorry, the wrong way around, not just the character, but like the person who I am as well, and knowing my kind of my big things that are really important to me. So as I mentioned earlier, I wrestled at the Box Park. Jay, knowing that Easter's such a big part and a big important part of my family's life, sometimes bigger than Christmas in our household, said, "Look, just come and wrestle, and you can get off." Like, things like that to me are massive. Like, knowing your people who you're working with, as I say, with John Kane. John being one of the first people who ever booked me, knows what kind of I bring to a story and works with me and gives me that kind of that space and that growth to go, oh yeah, that's really good, PL, do that, or give us a promo, give me a couple of minutes on the mic before we go and wrestle. Like, that belief gives me that real support as well. So yeah, it's people I work with as well are really, really good. But as daft as it sounds, like, being my own supporter now, knowing that some of my old habits don't have to become my new habits, things that I was doing previously, has been really, really helpful to me. And as I say, big supporter of speaking out to people, listening to people, giving people that safe space as well, because I needed that and I had that as well. And those people I mentioned are just a few of them.
It's awesome to hear, mate. It really is. So, obviously, with your personal journey with mental health, has that changed your perspective on empathy and understanding at all? Not just for yourself, but for others in the wrestling community and beyond?
Absolutely. Like, I know for a fact, like, within the last kind of couple of months, there's a number of people really, really struggling with kind of the things that wrestling brings, the highs and the lows that wrestling brings. I do try and be a lot more, and I've always, as I mentioned earlier, like, this kind of wrestling dad, and that people come and speak to me, but knowing now to unpick things a little bit more and asking people, are they okay? Not just asking them once, because it's that surface level, asking them 2 times and listening to what they're saying, giving them that bit of space, and just trying to be that real compassionate person. And like, look, I know you're struggling. These have been my struggles. Please don't compare your struggles to mine. Let's not compare our Everests. So I think I mentioned that earlier, is that everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's on what they're kind of doing their own line, if you like. But yeah, just being really, really smart around how people are doing. And it's massively helped me, as much as hopefully I'm helping other people as well.
Fantastic, matey. So, what message would you like to share with other wrestlers or individuals in high pressure professions who might be struggling in silence and feel unable to speak out?
Just like, don't be afraid. It's the easiest thing to say, but the hardest thing to do is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to speak to somebody about it. In that, knowing people's struggles, like, you're not a burden. You are not you've got a place here. You've got a place in British wrestling, in the industry that you work in your friendship group, in your family group. Like, it's far better to have a conversation then, even if it's a difficult conversation, with that person, rather than talking about that person when they've taken their own life, or they've removed themselves from their situation, or they've caused themselves some kind of harm, where you then, do you know what, like, we could have done something, we could have worked together as a community. Absolutely access as much support as you need. Don't be afraid to ask. As I said earlier, just speak. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. People can just give you 20 minutes. If someone can give you 20 minutes, you might change that person's life. You might definitely might change that person's day by just being that person you can speak to. But you might change their outlook completely. So it's, if you feel at the right point where you can give of yourself to people, like, absolutely, like, volunteering time, particularly to people who I think who are in pain or in in danger is some of the kind of the best feelings that you can get out of it for yourself, and also knowing that you've made a difference for somebody else.
I think that's absolutely sound advice, that, mate. I think that people watching this will really appreciate that advice. So we often celebrate victories in the ring, obviously title wins, big blood feud wins are all good. But what does the term triumph mean to you in the context of your mental health journey?
Just being here, being where I am, knowing that, as I said earlier, I think in reflecting now, I think I was absolutely terrified to make a change, just because the change was to do with my work, my real work. Absolutely terrified of what people would say, what people would think, how I would be viewed in a community coming out of teaching, to preserve myself, and that being the only reason to come out of it is that just to preserve myself and my own mental well-being. That it was okay, that the world didn't end because Paul Layton wasn't a teacher anymore. The love and support that I get from my family is absolutely endless. The love in a strange way, isn't it, from a wrestling point of view, and the infamy that I try and create for myself within wrestling was still there, even though I'm not a teacher anymore and that I'm this other person now. I think I'm more PL, I'm more Paul Layton than I ever have been now, and that I'm not afraid to be the person I am, rather than just this, in a lot of ways, this other character as a teacher that I was. And as I say, the world didn't end because I stopped being a teacher. In a lot of ways, my horizons were broadened because I came out of education. I've got that real understanding of what other people do as well.
Oh, somebody. So as we start to wind down, mate, with the penultimate question, what are your aspirations and goals within professional wrestling for the future, but also personally?
So kind of like aspirations wise, as I said, my two, where I work the most and where I work first is like Infinite Promotions. Like, I want to make sure that what I'm doing with them is strong. I want to carry on showing people that it's like a character business as well as it's a moves business, and give people that advice of saying, look, it's okay to travel around schools and go and listen to other people and engage with other people, and don't be afraid to make yourself look daft on a show because it doesn't fit in with your character. Like, go and do it and get that experience. Help with that infinite growth, with that Infinite Promotions growth, and with TNT and with Superstar, and being that like almost that gatekeeper, in that people willingness to kind of work with me and go through me on their way up, as I inevitably stay in this kind of middle, hopefully giving myself some opportunities to move up as well, and carry on this kind of main character bits, but also as I inevitably start kind of slowing down in the next kind of five years, help with that growth. Like, Infinite has become this company where we were just working in small places exclusively, now to where we're working this massive venue over in Bootle and at Hooters. As I said, working with Infinite has been like a real love. Working with TNT and carrying on being this kind of villainous persona that really juxtaposes against other people who they've got really high aspirations for, as well as the aspirations that I've got. Just keep doing this, like, try and stay relevant, and just keep doing this, like, being this person who people can connect to for both the right and the wrong reasons are some of my aspirations. It's great when someone gives you a title and trusts you with a title, or trusts you with a big story, as I have been and I am at the moment, but just always being that kind of people willing to put you with somebody because they know you're a good hand and they know you'll look after them. Being in that position where, like Joey Hayes said to me, is that like, you're really safe, I'll work with you every day. That to me is a real success. That's a real triumph. That's what the kind of, hopefully the next couple of years in British wrestling is going to look for me. I'm not going to take a title off Luke Jacobs at Progress. anytime soon. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I know Lee McAtee is a big fan of what I do as well. So anytime you want a 26-second match, Lee, with Luke Jacobs, hit me up. I'm sure I could do a heck of a lot of talking and let Luke powerbomb me through the ring. That'd be amazing.
Fantastic, mate. So coming down to the last question, bud. I've asked this on the last couple of podcasts, and the first person that I asked was actually Steve Dean, and he went into a bit of a meltdown because he wasn't expecting it. So I've decided to put it in sort of like to end on a lighter note, because obviously this can get quite a bit deep for people. Can you give me your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, whether that be WWE, AEW, British Wrestling, past, present? Fire away.
Cool. So just before we went on air, I did say to you, Jim, that I've had turmoil with this a little bit, just because, as I said, I don't put myself over this person I've seen. I've seen loads of wrestling and what have you. Yeah, I have. But can I decide who my favourite 4 wrestlers are? No, I can't. But so what I will do is I'll give you a couple of people who I'm just plugging in. I'll give you a couple of people who I'm particularly fond of. Not surprisingly, they are really, really kind of character-driven people as well. But yeah, starting off right at the top with Steve Regal, William Regal. To younger audiences, like Steve Regal, if you are looking for someone who can play any part on any role and make a title or make a angle relevant, like some of my favorite stuff has been Steve Regal TV title stuff that you can go on. Obviously, it's free to watch on YouTube and other places like that. I really, really got the end of the pier family wrestling, but on a grander scheme and a grander scene as well. I absolutely adore a load of stuff that he does and has done, and that to be considered and talked about in things like that would be amazing in future, even if it's just in my local area. I think you've got to go with, or I've got to go with, the dirtiest player in the game, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, just because I love the character, the all the things, the space, the moves between moves for me, for Ric Flair, and the ability to come back from the kind of, whether people know that widely thing of he broke his back and he changed his whole wrestling style and changed the size of him, like an American football player at one point, and then became this kind of more slender, technical mastermind of all things dirty, all things kind of underhanded. Like, I love that anyway. People will attest to you. Like, I love an eye poke at the best of time, so I love that stuff as well. And just the legacy that he kind of brings with it. And you think of the amount of people who he has wrestled across, and the amount of people who would attribute their success to Ric Flair, I think he's got to go in there. Might shock a few people and say, if they're building it today, I would still put Cody Rhodes on there. Again, someone who has fought against a bit of adversity. Not to mention that I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine it, because if I put myself in the position of a booker and my daughter ever decided to be a wrestler, I would want the best for her. But that whole nepotism thing could be quite poisonous, couldn't it, for Cody? But went and did, very similar to like Drew McIntyre, went and did all the indies. And one of my favorite wrestling shows I've been to was one where he essentially was like front and center of it, but he made it work. It was in the Liverpool, not the Empire. The venue escapes me, but it's an absolutely beautiful venue where NXT have run there as well. And it just became this, it was just this like absolute, you couldn't take your eyes off him. And he's doing the heel, talking down to people, offering people, hey, here's £20 because it's £10 more than you will have got paid. All that kind of stuff as well, like character-wise. I love the emotion that he brings to it as well. Like, amount of people who give it all, like crybaby Cody and all that. Like, no, like, engage with what's going on. Like, that's a guy who puts his absolute heart and soul into it. dress is great as well. Wish I could rock around in a suit all the time. So I'm a big fan of that. And then kind of I'm a bit of a loss really right at the end. But what I will say is the mere mention of like Walter or Gunther now, I don't think there's many who could, if he carries on kind of working the way he does, he definitely will be a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Triple H could also sneak onto there again, just being really cerebral. I know it's an easy one to coin, but knowing and that kind of how to be in the business for years. And yeah, MJF. Like, how could anybody? I could see why someone could go. So I'll correct myself. I could see why someone could go. Oh, it absolutely does me head in. But that's the point. That is the point. And that's kind of stuff as I'm getting across as well. So Mount Rushmore has grown, if you like. I can't decide. There's 3 definites with some little smaller faces carved in, I think.
Fantastic, buddy. So, in essence, mate, that is it for today. That's it for the episode. First off, guys, I want to say a massive thank you for yourselves for tuning in. And I want to say a massive thank you to Mr. PL Dotson for joining me, mate. Thank you so much for joining me, bud. End of the day, ladies and gentlemen, he is the Savage Gent and he is your better. So just deal with it. So, mate, with the end of the episode, bud, is there anything, or this is how I like to finish it, is there anything you want to plug, anything you want to talk about, anything you want to say to people that are watching? Floor is yours, mate. As soon as you're done, then we will end the stream.
Spot on. So, yeah, again, just firstly, thank you for the opportunity to come on and speak as the real person, as well as a little bits of the kind of the character thrown in there as well. My socials, I predominantly use Instagram now, and that is at DotsonPL on Instagram. So I love the interaction with people as well. Don't expect it to always be wholesome. It might be a little bit negative, but that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Got a number of events coming up in the very, very near future. One, which is the Bash at the Bennetts, which is a fantastic little venue in Liverpool, where I and a number of the other Infinite Promotions wrestling superstars will be in contestation. I myself am having a one-to-one. I say a one-to-one because I will be backed up by my group of associates, my modus operandi, which is we are more than intrigued by the continued use of hardcore wrestling in Infinite Promotions, whilst I have already banned it. So we're having a little chat with Aaron Martin and, of course, the Wraith of Wargrave, Mr. Isaac North, just to quell any uncertainties around my thoughts on hardcore wrestling. So that is one quite soon. That is on, just check my dates. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. My date, it is the 2nd of August. So that is the Bash at the Bennetts. Tickets still available for that one. As I say, over summer, I'm in a little bit of time off, but then I've got some work for the Kingdom of Wrestling in Southport. I'm also working over in Chesterfield. So a gentleman has just been in touch with me from Kapow Wrestling about working over there. So that's fantastic. Thank them for having me on as well. And yeah, continued work for TNT and the Superstar brand as well. So those are the places you're most likely to see me, along with EPW. I can't be remiss to mention them. We're making my debut for EPW quite soon. So yeah, lots and lots of busyness for your better, but it's the right place to see your better is some of those venues.
Fantastic, mate. So that's it for today, guys. Make sure that you check out PL Dotson on his socials, all over Instagram, and make sure you check out all the other people that we mentioned today. Also, make sure you tune in next Tuesday for at 5 o'clock British time, where I will be interviewing a fellow Barnesman, Madden. Make sure you check out that one, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. This has been Wrestle Wellbeing, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is your better, the Savage Gent, PL Dotson. Thank you very much, mate, and we'll see you guys later. Okay, bud. How was that for you, mate?